Assalamu alaikum dear students. As per I promised that I will be making the video for the battles of Hz Umar radhiyallahu ta'ala anhu, because usually there is a full-fledged question for the expansion of the Islamic Empire during the time of Hz Umar, because Hz Umar's time is considered as the golden time of the Islamic history. So the battles which I am telling you, I think they are enough, and as I am recommending you, they are more than enough for your expansion of for the answer of your expansion, because there are two campaigns, two-sided campaigns, one towards Persia and other towards Syria. So first we will cover and they both were going together. One were led by some other commanders, and other ones led by some other commanders. So Muslims were distributed in that, and they were having the fight against two sides. So they were started in the battle. First we will be covering inshallah the battle of the campaigns of Syria, and in the campaigns of Syria there are certain battles. I am telling you the names. One is battle of number one is battle of Bridge, which was fought in 634, then battle of Buwaib in 635, then battle of Qadisiya 636, and battle of Mehran 642. And these four battles are enough in the Persian campaigns, and you are not supposed to write all other small battles in that, because if you will be covering all these four battles, inshallah your answer for the Persian campaigns will be completed, and then we will move towards the Syrian campaign, and it would also come under the expansion of the Islamic Empire, and under the tenure of Hz Umar radhiyallahu ta'ala anhu. So the Battle of Bridge was fought by the Muslims, and there were the commander of the Muslim army was Hz Mutanna. But when Hz Mutanna realized that the Persian army, which was led by the Bahman, Bahman was the name of the Persian commander. It is written, you can see in the video, Bahman, and Muslim commander was Mutanna. But when Hz Mutanna felt that he needs reinforcement from Hz Umar, so he wrote a letter to Hz Umar that he needed a reinforcement, because the Persian army was consisted of around 40,000 people, and Muslim army was less than 10,000. So Hazrat Mutanna asked the help from Hazrat Umar radhiyallahu ta'ala anhu, and Hazrat Umar sent the reinforcement under the command of Abu Ubaid Saqafi. When Abu Ubaid Saqafi came with the when he came with the reinforcement of the 5,000 people, and now Hazrat Mutanna, there was a bridge in between the Muslims and on the river Euphrates, in between the Muslims and the Persians. But that is why, because of this bridge, this battle is called the Battle of Bridge. So Hazrat Hazrat Mutanna was not in the favor to cross the bridge, but Hazrat Abu Ubaid Saqafi was somehow was overconfident, and he was considering that the Persians are easy task and they would be able to fight. But Persians were using the strategy of elephants, and for Muslim horses, because Muslims used to use camel and horses for the battle. So for the camels and horses, elephants were somehow new, so they were scared of the animals, and they were unable to run in the battlefield. Also, when Hazrat Abu Ubaid Saqafi decided to cross the bridge, that was the wrong decision, because when they tried to cross the bridge, they were stuck inside the bridge, and they could not reach from other side. And also Persians cut the ropes of the bridge and strings of the bridge, the ropes of the bridge. When the bridge was broken, so many of the Muslims were drowned, and many of the Muslims were sunk into the water, and some of them were trampled by the elephants, and some of them were killed by the Persian archers. So in this battle, Muslims had a great loss, and many Muslims were martyred. Even Abu Ubaid Saqafi was also trampled by elephant, who was the commander-in-chief of the reinforced army, and Mutanna was Hazrat Mutanna was injured, badly injured in this battle. So this battle came to an end with the victory of the Persian army. Right, that was the only battle in which the Persian army could get the victory. Then in Battle of Buwaib 635, very next year, Hazrat Mutanna was once again chosen as a commander-in-chief of the Muslim army, but the opposite army, Persian army, was led by the Mehran. And just remember the name of these commandment, Mehran. And basically Hazrat Umar's intention for this battle was because Hazrat Umar wanted to take the revenge of the battle of bridge, because after Battle of Bridge, Persians were considering that they were overwhelming, and they were considering themselves overconfident. So they were making the conspiracies against Muslims. For covering these conspiracies, it was imperative to have another fight with them. So in Battle of Buwaib, Muslims managed to fight against the Persians, and successfully they defeated the Persian army, and Mehran was also killed. When the commander-in-chief of the Persian army was killed, the army was discouraged, and many of them started fleeing from the battlefield, and some of them surrendered in front of the Muslims. Now, Battle of Qadisiya in 636. The detail which I am telling you, this is more than enough. This is like a story, so it could remember by listening only. So just listen this, and it would be enough for you. In 636, Battle of Qadisiya was fought, in which Muslims were 30,000, and that is the very historical battle, and it is in one of the in some of the years, the Battle of Qadisiya and Yarmouk, because they both were fought in 636. So the same year. And Qadisiya was against Persian, and Yarmouk was against Syrians. So they both were fought in the same year. That is why in the paper they both came separately also, these two battles. So in this way, some other two battles can also come of Hz Umar, like Qadisiya and Buwaib can be joined, Qadisiya and Jerusalem can be joined. So you should know at least the story of the battle, right? So in Battle of Qadisiya, Muslims were 30,000 around, and the amount which I am telling about Muslims, you should write it, and about the Persians, write it. If I am not telling the number of the people, do not write it, right? You are not required even. So do not go in the detail of this. Only you should know the story of the battle, that what happened actually. And Saad bin Abi Waqas, he was also not well. He was sick, but he was leading the battle from the sick bed. So Hazrat Saad bin Abi Waqas was, and he was in this battle you will write about the Saad bin Abi Waqas also, because Hazrat Saad bin Abi Waqas was one of the best archer. He was the first one to shoot the arrow for the sake of Islam. Prophet Muhammad said to Hazrat Saad bin Abi Waqas, he was amongst the 10 blessed companion also. Prophet Muhammad said about Saad bin Abi Waqas that shoot arrows, Saad, me and my parents would be sacrificed upon you. So Hazrat Saad bin Abi Waqas was the best of the archer. So he was expert in archery. That is why Hz Umar chose Hazrat Saad bin Abi Waqas for leading this battle, and he was leading the battle from the sick bed because he was not well. And one of the heroic figure of the Persian Persian army, and he was one of the wrestler also, one of the warrior also, heroic figure also, Rustam. And he was considered as undefeatable person. So in Qadisiya, Muslims about Hazrat Saad bin Abi Waqas was sent. They started when they reached at Qadisiya, they sieged the place, and they gave three options to the Persians. The first option was to accept Islam, the other option was to pay jizya, or the third option to get ready for the war. But as per the Persians were very contemptuous means like they were very much considering the Arab Muslims as they were looking down upon them. They were not considering them as per the competitors. So they accepted the third option. And they were very much arrogant against the Arab Muslims. So, but still the delegation remained positive, and they were courteous, but no effect, because the stand of the stand of the Rustam. After 3 months they sieged, but there was no use of this siege, because they were not ready to surrender, and they were not ready to accept the unity of the Muslims, and they were not coming under the flag of the Islam. So because of the desertion and defection were also taking places in their army. So now Rustam was on its height, because 3 months were passed, and now Persians were irritated and they were deserting their own army. So Rustam took this initiative that he attacked on the Muslim army. He blocked the channel against the Muslims, and troops crossed over the bridge, and they tried to attack on the Muslim army. And now definitely as Saad bin Abi Waqas, he used the method of archery, and he already appointed the archer on the up side of the mountain, and their target was the Persian elephants, because if they will target the elephants of the trunks and the eyes of the elephants, in this way they could create the chaos and the panic in the Persian army, and they did the same. Hazrat Saad bin Abi Waqas used his archery skills, and he did the same. So Persians were defeated in this battle badly, and that is why this battle is considered as the after this battle, the whole Arabian the whole Persian Babel and some other cities also came under the Muslims. Jalula and many other cities came under the Muslims. That is why this battle is considered as the final battle between Muslims and the Persians. After this, only one battle took place, some year, because in the some year after 636 there was a plague. Muslims were Arabs were under the plague, and Muslims could not have any major fight. But in 640, however, some small skirmishes were happening, small battles were happening, but not any major battle happened. But in 642, the Battle of Nehawan, that was the final battle. Even Qadisiya was considered as the final battle, because mainly many of the areas came under the Muslims after Battle of Qadisiya, but somehow Nehawan was also the battle in which, because it was happened because of the Yazdigard who fled from the battlefield, and he finally took refuge in the nearby area. So now Nehawan and he was making the conspiracies against Muslims. That is why Muslims decided to take take the control of this rich plains of Iraq. So that is why Muslims plan to attack on Nehawan also. And now the Yazdigard was taking the support from Kufa, Basra and some other cities, and he collected the big army and they assembled. Now the Muslims army subsequently gathered, and they marched to Nehawan, and one force was ordered to station itself on the borders between the provinces of Fars and Isfahan, to prevent the Persian sending reinforcement from the south, because Muslims were expecting expecting somehow the reinforcement for them, because they could send some sort of reinforcement. The Muslim army was consisting only 30,000 men, and they were much smaller. That was much smaller, who had missed the battle of because now this was many people joined voluntarily, because who missed Qadisiya, they wanted to volunteer themselves in Nehawan, because they were regretting that they could not participate in the battle of Qadisiya. The Muslim army on reaching Nehawan found the Persian army drawn up to the near side of a ravine. Ravine is a place the side of the ravine is like some sort of covered with it is sort of a secluded valley. So it could be it became the fatal for them, where they took shelter. Right now it became the fatal for them. They had also fortified themselves behind the trenches, because that was the practice of the Persians to fight behind the trenches. As Hazrat Salman Farsi was also one of the Persian, so he gave the suggestion in the Battle of Trench to the Muslims to dig the trench. So they hid themselves behind the trenches. The Muslims tried to storm them out, but with no success. And disciplined Persian were giving the hard time to the Muslims this time. But Muslims leader met in the council, and they discussed that what should they do. It was decided that the cavalry would be advanced towards the advance and protected to attack and they were pretend to attack the trenches, and then withdraw to lure the Persians. Like they were just luring them, like behlana hota hai na, jaise kisi ko, like they were just luring them that we are just leaving the battlefield and we are leaving. So Hazrat Nu'man bin Muqarrin was handling Nu'man. You should just need to remember the name Nu'man. He was leading the battalions of Muslim army. So he kept the Muslims intact, and he said that we are not fighting for the land or for the booty, but we are fighting only for the honor of our religion. And when they finally drawn swords, the cavalry began to slip on the blood, because in the beginning when they started fighting, even though Hazrat Nu'man was also martyred in this battle, but many Persians were killed in this battle, and the ravine in which they took the shelter, when it was soaked with the blood, they started slipping from there, and they were sinking in their own blood. So that ravine had become their grave. That ravine had become their grave. And blood-soaked ground was also very difficult for them. Despite this, the Muslims continued, even though after the martyrdom of Hazrat Nu'man, the commander-in-chief, Muslims did not discourage, and they were advancing. The Persian began to flee, and in the gathering dark, it was dark at night, and many of them were slipping in their own blood. Immediately afterwards, the Muslims surrounded the Nehawand itself, and finally Nehawand came under the under the Muslims' control. There was a priest, their monk, who was their chief priest, and he came for the negotiation with the Muslims, and he had presented a lot of land and prizes and booty to the Muslims, and he wanted only the guarantee of the lives of the people of Persia. So Muslims accepted his offer, and they gave them the shelter, and finally Nehawand, the whole Persia came under the control of Muslims. Now the Syrian campaigns started. From the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, from the Battle of Mu'tah, and then Hazrat Abu Bakr sent an expedition to Syria under Usama bin Zaid. So this is also the consequences of that. So in the Syrian campaign, there are only 5 battles: the fall of Damascus, the battle of Yamama, the battle of Yarmouk, and the battle of the fall of Jerusalem, the conquest of Egypt, and the fall of Alexandria. These 5 battles are enough, and you don't need to learn the small battles in this. When we talk about the fall of Damascus, at the first place, the Syrian had been hoping for reinforcement from the Byzantine Empire, Heraclius, or else that the harsh Syrian winter was very difficult for them, and it was difficult for Muslims also. But reinforcement did not come, and event was not according to the Syrian wishes. The Muslim forces had been posted outside the reach of the 6 gates, because they were under the fortified city and fortified fort, and it had 6 gates. So Hazrat Khalid bin Walid was very good at the war strategies. So with his few of his men, he using the rope and ladders, he used many things to reach the one gate. When he managed to reach at the one gate, other Syrians, the people of Damascus, they were in the panic and the chaos, and they opened all other gates by themselves, and because they wanted to flee from that fort. But Muslims were waiting on other gates, and they entered into from all 6 gates, and Damascus came under the control of Muslims. This much information are in 636. So after that, some other areas like Muslim Empire was brought in by the Emisa and Fehel. They all came under the control of Muslims. So you don't need to go in the detail. This much detail is enough. Then in 636, the Battle of Yarmouk. This also came with the Battle of Qadisiya. This is the long battle, and fought in the summer of 636. The Battle of Yarmouk was a major conflict between the Byzantines and the Muslims. The fall of Damascus finally alerted Heraclius and to the Muslims' threat from the rest of recapture the city. He wanted to reorganize the army, and he wanted that because Syrians were considering that Muslims are not capable to fight with them. But after the fall of Damascus, somehow Muslims became threat for them. The Muslims' forces to hold on to their gains also assembled in the Golan region under the command of Khalid bin Walid, because all the Syrian campaigns were under the Khalid bin Walid and Hazrat Abu Ubaid bin Jarrah. So Hazrat Khalid bin Walid, Hazrat Abu Ubaid bin Jarrah, Hazrat Yazid bin Abu Sufyan, and Amr bin al-As, these were the prominent people in this. So Hazrat Khalid bin Walid invited the Byzantines to Islam, or else to pay jizya, the same as happened in the Qadisiya. So as Saad bin Abi Waqas called them to pay jizya or to accept Islam, but they accepted none of the offer, and they finally rejected both of the offers, and they are ready to fight against the Muslims. So the number of the forces on either side varies in records from 20,000 to 24,000 Muslims, and far higher numbers for the Byzantines. So you don't need to mention the exact numbers. If you will be writing 20 to 24,000, that is more than enough. Both sides were inspired by religious zeal. They were Christians. They were thinking that they are fighting for God, and Muslims were definitely determined that they are also fighting for the sake of Allah's pleasure. So now there should be neither Hazrat Khalid bin Walid delivered a speech in which he said that we are here together because we fight for the sake of Allah, and there should be neither pride nor wrongdoing in it. Strive sincerely, seeking Allah in your work, for this day also has the day beyond. The day beyond means the hereafter. So the Battle of Yarmouk was preceded by a series of conflicts for about a month, and it was culminated in a major battle towards the end of that month, when the Muslims started. Like for the whole month, Muslims were having the small battles around. Now Muslims started pretending to retreat from their positions, and they also lured. That is why Qadisiya and Yarmouk is same, because in both of the battles they used the same strategy. As Saad bin Abi Waqas and Khalid bin Walid, they lured the Byzantines into the rough passage of time. They were just pretending them that they are leaving the battlefield. So where they were once again gathering their strength. During the battle, the Byzantine cavalry became separated from the infantry, enabling the Muslim cavalry to inflict great damage on them. Khalid bin Walid had divided his cavalry into small battalions to make them appear numerous in the number, because Hazrat Khalid bin Walid wanted to show them that they are more than in number, they are large in number. So these were the strategies which Khalid bin Walid used even before. So with the cliffs of Yarmouk, the Byzantine were also unrested by a dust storm, because dust storm was somehow not friendly. They were not friendly with that. So the cliffs of the Yarmouk were also, they were hiding themselves behind the cliffs of the Yarmouk. So any hope of retreat westward was destroyed when Khalid captured the old Roman bridge, and when that old Roman bridge came under the hand of Khalid bin Walid, in the control of Khalid bin Walid. So now in Wadi al-Rukad, so now they had no hopes for the reinforcement, because if the reinforcement would be coming, it would be coming from the bridge. So now when the bridge was under the Muslims, there was no hope for the reinforcement. That is why they were discouraged. The Byzantines were discouraged somehow. The defeat at Yarmouk was the big defeat, and it was considered and it was the biggest victory for the Muslims, and Fathul Fatuhat. It is given the name Fathul Fatuhat, means victory of victories. Hz Umar, when heard about this, he at that time he prostrated in front of Allah, and he was thankful of Allah because of this big victory, because it was unexpected victory. So now the siege of the Jerusalem. Next topic is the siege of Jerusalem. This is very easy. This is also the story based, when because when Damascus and Yarmouk came into the hands of Muslims. So the people of Jerusalem themselves said to the Muslims that to Amr bin al-As, that time Hazrat Amr bin al-As was leading an army, and he was preparing an army against Jerusalem. So the people of Jerusalem said that that they should call their Caliph, and they would be taking the pledge on the hand of the Caliph. So Hazrat Amr bin Alas connected with Hazrat Umar, and he narrated about the people of Jerusalem that what they wanted. Hazrat Umar was okay with that because he didn't want any bloodshed. If bloodshed could be avoided, and because of his presence, so he welcomed it, and he came alone only with his one slave, and he was given even turn on his horse to his slave also. So sometimes slave used to sit on the horse, and sometimes Hazrat Umar. When they entered into Jerusalem, Hazrat Umar was not on the horse, but the slave was on the horse. When the people of Jerusalem saw that they never saw Hazrat Umar before, so they considered the slave as Caliph. But when they came to know that Caliph is not the one who is sitting on the horse, but he is giving the turn to the slave, they just inspired a lot, and they thought that the religion Islam has, one of their priests said that religion Islam has taken the place from all other religions. So that was the historical words which he said, and Jerusalem without any bloodshed came under the control of Muslims. So now the conquest of Egypt, this is also somehow the important topic, and after that only the fall of Alexandria. So Amr bin Alas had visited the Alexandria and seen the size and prosperity of the place, and was well aware of the wealth in Egypt and Alexandria. Hence he requested the Caliph Hazrat Umar that he should give him the permission to fight, but Hazrat Umar was reluctant somehow, but he then gave the permission. After attacking many small towns, the Muslim force laid siege to the massive and well defended fort at the base of the Nile River, but could not make any any headway. Reinforcement were called for more from Medina, and after a 7-month siege, the fort, which later became the garrison town of Fustat, was captured by Amr bin Alas. So the fall of Alexandria, the government of Fustat, after surrendering to Amr, went to Alexandria, the Roman governor of Egypt. Alexandria was a well-defended city and not easy to conquer. It was heavily fortified and defended by a large force of about 50,000 soldiers around. The Muslim army was about only 12,000 men. Despite many attacks and a long siege, could not gain any success. The Byzantines had mounted on the walls of the city, and every time the Muslim approached the city walls, they were hit by heavy boulders. Hazrat Umar wrote a letter to Hazrat Amr expressing his anger and displeasure at the place of event. Following his letter came the news of the death of the Heracles, which had become the good news for the Caliph and for good news for the Muslims also, because now they did not have any of the expectations or the hopes for the any reinforcement. When they did not have any hope for the reinforcement, they surrendered and they discouraged. And when Hazrat Amr bin Alas attacked on them, they were easily able to defeat and capture the fort of Alexandria. So these were the battles of Hazrat Umar, and Syrian and Persian. I hope when you will listen this lecture, you will be able to learn the names of the battles only. Learn only the names of the battle, and details inshallah would be coming into your mind by themselves, because after listening many things could be remembered. I hope it is helpful.